Have you ever questioned the nature of your reality? Have you ever felt like there's something a bit off? Are we in a simulation? Are we in a video game? Is this real? Are we just holograms? Have you ever questioned these things? Well, I wanted to explore this a little bit in this video. And what's been coming through for me is there's a lot that I don't personally share when I do my YouTube videos, when I share on my social media. But honestly, recently I've been feeling called to just share and just be honest and just show you guys more, because when I created this channel and when I gave birth to Awaken with Tina, what was coming through was me sharing my personal experiences in the hopes that it can help you and delivering you the messages and the guidances in your awakening process. So if I were to just hold back information and not sharing the whole thing, that would not make me feel good, and it also wouldn't serve you and the channel. So I wanted to talk a little bit, go a little bit deeper, you know what I'm saying? Is that okay with you guys if we get a little bit deep and woo-woo, okay? So there's been a lot of energies that are coming through when it comes to allowing ourselves to see the world that we live in for what it is and for what it's not, for what it could be. So there has been a lot of things that are coming through, and the easiest way to communicate this is that there's different layers, right? And let me know if you agree with this or not, right? Comment down below. Would love to hear your opinion. There's different layers of reality, as we know. And when we are our consciousness is here, we only see the certain things. But when we expand our consciousness, we're seeing more things. We're seeing deeper things. We're seeing things interlinked, interconnected. And when we expand our consciousness even more, we start to realize that, holy crap, there's so many layers in this reality, and reality itself is not as we know and it's not as we see. Interestingly enough, there is a lot of illusions, let's just say that, illusions happening in our world. Maybe some of them are right in front of our eyes, right? So there's a lot of interesting thing when it comes to language. Have you ever noticed that, right? Have you ever heard of spells, right? Like magic spells and spelling, right? It's spells. So knowing that your words have magic in them, your words are magic, your words are your manifestation tools. So there has been a lot of things that are clicking and clicking and clicking in our reality that if you dare to question, okay, if you dare to seek more into it, you will realize that reality is not as you know. And also, be feeling very confused. And, interestingly enough, we are not told how this works. You know what I'm talking about? We were not told how this world really works, what's really going on. And to be honest, all of this kicked off for me when I started realizing that I was being fed a lot of lies growing up. And why would we question our reality, right? Why would we do that? It's like our parents said, go to school, get a good grade, get a good job so that you can, be happy in life, whatever. Why would I question that? These are my parents. This is everyone saying that. Why would I question that? So there's a lot of belief system that we have bought into that we're going along with the program. We're going along as if it's the law. It's the only truth. But it's not. We live in a world with infinite possibilities, but for the untrained mind, you don't see it. This is why I've gone through really deep work and inner work and work behind the scenes that I don't always share. I a lot about Buddhism, a lot about different spiritual practices, a lot about understanding even of science, metaphysics, right? There's a lot of things that I, dive into, nerd out into, and it all comes to me in the same thing. They can be calling this in this term or manifestation here, but then they call it magic here, and then they can call it science here. Like who cares about the terminologies? The fact is the same. The fact is that we have the tools. There's nothing that you need to seek, okay? We have the tools to create our reality. But we need to be aware that one, we are the tools. Second, that we have these tools. And the tools is already built in us. But has there been an energy that maybe suppressed that? Has there been a programming, a conditioning that might be not playing for your favor? Has there been something that you think is the law, is true, it's the only way, but once you start looking into it, you're realizing it's a bag of lies? Have you had those instances, by the way? Would love to hear them in the comments. The first instance that I've ever come across was, what was it? Oh yeah, was when I was awakened to veganism. Okay, so I was like, meat eater, normal person, right? Like whatever my parents feed me, I eat. That kind of person until I was watching this documentary. Actually, multiple documentaries about how animals are being treated and what is like the actual meaning about veganism and what is it all about. I was just watching those documentaries, and one of the things that was coming up that really like baffled my mind, aside from how animals getting mistreated, is that the nutritional chart. Holy crap, like the nutritional chart that is like the pie chart is like you eat 40% of meat, protein, right? 20% of dairy, right? 10% of, legumes, you know what I'm talking about, that one. So that one, I've always thought it's like, oh yeah, that's the rule, that's how we should eat, that's how we should portion our plates, that's like nutritionist, is that a word? Nutritionist, whatever the name is, they created that. So I was following it like religiously. I didn't question. Why would I question that? Because, I have it on my wall. Every family had that in Canada. But then when I was watching the documentary, what I realized was that was in collaboration with the agriculture industry, the meat industry, the dairy industry. So what they were recommending for you to eat like dairy, whatever, is because they want to sell more dairy. And I was like, what? Is that for real, right? I was like, what is going on? And for those of you who don't know, I have a background in business and marketing. That's what I went to school for, and that's what I did in my early days before, I turned into this like person here that you see. So I was studying marketing, and one of the things that I found so fascinating that I gave a speech on when I was studying that course was marketing is responsible for a lot of the things that we know today. So, for example, orange juice, right? Like things were being mass produced and, stuff like that. And we drink it as a part of our like breakfast and stuff like that. And a lot of it came from that they had a surplus of orange, and then I'm like, they don't really know what to do with this. Like, they made a campaign to push it. Orange juice like essential for you every day. And then there's also this thing I find very fascinating, the speech that I did on bacon. How did bacon get onto your plate? Who knows? Who knows how bacon got onto your plate at breakfast during the first place, right? In the first place. But if I think about it, it's like, why would I question, right? Why would you question that there are eggs for breakfast, they're toast and bacon? Like, we just know that these are staple breakfast items. But have you ever questioned, like, why is it? What is the story, right? Do we allow our mind to go there? So it turns out when I was doing some research is that, I don't know if I remember all of this. So like, all of the story, because it's been some years ago, but it's something like this, okay? It's something like the bacon industry was like not selling bacon, as much as they would like. So they're like, okay, how can we, bring up the sales? How can we blow this up? So then one of the geniuses and one of the marketers and one of the ad people were like, okay, why don't we make a campaign how it is part of the American diet breakfast? So they were doing these videos, right? These campaigns, these ads of like, of course, bacon is a part of your breakfast. Like, why would you question that? So then they put it in our head, like, of course it is. And then it kind of just became a thing that bacon found itself on your breakfast plate. And I remember when I found out about that like years ago, I was like, what? Is that for real? That's crazy. But is it that hard to imagine? So think about it, right? And the clothes that you wear, what's in fashion, what's not? Is it because Kim Kardashian wears it and it's fashion? You see it in a magazine and then it's fashion, right? It's like it comes from someone. You see what I mean? It comes from someone. So, tying it back to spirituality and a spiritual awakening is that a lot of us, we feel like things are just the way it is. And you're just following life, following the rules without questioning. But actually, it'd be very interesting if you pause and question. How did it become the thing? How did it get here? How did the bacon get here? How did the trend become a trend? Why did crop top become a thing? Why is pink the color? Like, really feel into that. Like, where did this come from? Did it fall off of the sky? Someone made it, right? And it's like, are we just blindly being sheeps and following through with it? How much is television, right? Programming, you watch your programs on TV, how much of that influence your life? How much of that subconsciously programs your mind? Because that's why they call program. So there's been a lot of things that, I can be going on and on and on about it, but the starting place for you as someone who is awakening to your power, awakening and expanding your consciousness is to start question how things get there. Question, is this it's always been? Is it really the way? Or is it someone decided that it's the way recently? You be very, very shocked, okay, and baffled of how many things that you think is just the way that it is. Of course, why would you question it? Once you question, you realize that there's a lot of other intentions, let's just say that. Other forces and other intentions play along the side. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what do I want to play into? What makes sense for me? Is it really the way? Is it really good? Is it really bad? It's up to you, right? But the idea of awakening, expanding your consciousness, it's not so much of labeling things as good and bad. That's not the point, and that's not my message at all. But it's about being aware, being aware that there's different forces in play. There's also different stories. It's like if you ask someone what happened, let's say for the war in the past, you're gonna get different stories. And I got the perfect example of this is in Vietnam. Some of you guys know that I'm Vietnamese, half Chinese and half Vietnamese, but I grew up in Vietnam, so I really consider myself, Vietnamese, Canadian. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on, with ethnicity, and anyway, that's a story from another time, more about me. But I grew up in Vietnam, and the Vietnam War is something that everyone knows about, and there's a different story everywhere about this Vietnam War. Like literally, if you ask the American, it's a different story. If you ask the North Vietnamese, it's a different story. If you ask the South Vietnamese, it's a different story. If you go to the War Museum, it's a whole different story. So when I went to the War Museum and I'm reading, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what I learned in school. That's not what I heard from the movies. I'm like, why am I getting so many stories with this? What really happened? I don't know. What really happened? Maybe we know, maybe we don't. So it's really in the perspective of who's writing it, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that you think that is the fact, it's the hard fact, but it's not. It's really not. And it's a very interesting path to to dive into, but it also can bring up a lot of anger, right? So that's why you see a lot of people who are in the what you call it, the controversial, no, what was it, the conspiracy theory, conspiracy theorists, right? There's a lot of can be anger with that, and sometimes when you go into those things, you can go into this rabbit hole. And by the way, let me know who's here is into conspiracy theories and all of that stuff, maybe give me a C, just like be low-key about it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are interesting. Let's just say that once you start to open up your mind, your consciousness, you were like, what is that for real? And if you guys are interested in the things that I'm sharing, by the way, if you want me to share more, because even in this video, I'm not even sharing everything. And this is like the beginner, the preview to like test the water. Like, you guys like this stuff? You want me to talk about it? Because there's a whole lot of bags that we can go into. So let me know down below your thoughts, your feelings, your awakening experiences, your realization, the lies that you have been told. What is it? Let us know down below. And if you guys want to connect with me on my Instagram, connect with me at Awaken with Tina so we can continue with the convo. And I post it every day. So like this video if you got something from it, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay connected. I love you, and I will talk to you soon.